Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. If you're managing procurement or supply chains, you already know it's a completely high-stakes game. But what if the very databases you trust to keep things running smoothly are actually leaving you dangerously exposed? Today, we're diving into the absolutely crucial shift from relying on broad, static corporate compliance tools to using real-time, targeted due diligence research. Here is how we're going to break this down today. First, we'll look at the compliance illusion, uncover the blind spots in standard tools, review some genuinely shocking pilot findings, and then walk through a 4-step due diligence method to integrate into your framework and protect your business continuity.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the compliance illusion.
Let's be real for a second. Are your standard compliance tools actually protecting your supply chain? Look, we all rely on those broad corporate databases as a foundational baseline, and they're great for that. They give you those standard financial health checks and basic legal standings, but we really need to ask if they're truly enough for your high-priority suppliers. Remember, you are managing specific, highly critical vendors whose day-to-day operations literally dictate your revenue. A generalized periodic check, it simply cannot keep pace with the dynamic, on-the-ground realities of your most crucial partners.
Moving right along to Section 2, blind spots in standard tools.
So, the core issue really boils down to how and when data is collected. Think about it. When you're dealing with global supply chains, a massive risk factor can emerge and escalate in a matter of days. That's way before it's ever going to hit an annual or quarterly compliance update. Broad corporate tools operate on those periodic updates, effectively casting a really wide but super shallow net. Real-time due diligence, on the other hand, acts like a deep, targeted spear. It utilizes immediate, highly specific open-source intelligence, or OSINT, for your key suppliers. It actively scours public records, local media, and specialized registries to catch things like sudden regulatory breaches or localized environmental fines that broad tools completely miss until it's way too late.
Which brings us to Section 3, shocking pilot program findings. To see just how massive this gap really is, get a load of this recent pilot program. They looked at priority suppliers who had already passed standard corporate checks with flying colors. These vendors were considered completely safe. But beneath the surface? Well, a trusted radiation tech vendor was actually having their components marketed by covert fronts linked to sanctioned nuclear programs. A major high-voltage supplier had just suffered a massive, undisclosed facility fire. And a ceramics producer was quietly racking up severe environmental and workplace safety fines. And guess what? The standard databases missed absolutely all of it.
9. That's the staggering number of critical, hidden adverse articles discovered for just a single safe electronics supplier during this pilot. We aren't talking about a minor typo on a form here. Real-time screening found active patent infringement probes, massive insider trade secret theft, and high-severity software vulnerabilities that were exposing industrial control systems to huge cyber risks. They'd even been hit by a ransomware attack. And all of this was happening while the supplier sat comfortably in the low-risk tier of the standard compliance database. Insane, right?
And the hits just kept coming. During that same pilot, real-time research found another vendor whose equipment was actively installed in foreign defense plants, heavily targeted by international sanctions. Another vendor was facing federal fraud investigations for misappropriating grant funds and making false claims. These are massive structural supply chain vulnerabilities that demand an immediate pivot in strategy. But without real-time due diligence, the procurement managers were flying completely blind.
Let's look at the solution in Section 4, the 4-step due diligence method.
Now, before you panic, there is actually a fast, incredibly cost-effective way to fix this without totally reinventing your procurement department. It's a simple 4-step framework. Step 1 is structured screening against specific risk keywords. Step 2, you neatly categorize those risks, whether it's a crime, a regulatory issue, or something highly specific. Step 3 uses advanced Boolean search queries across global public sources to pull in the raw data. But Step 4, that's the magic key. A human analyst actually steps in to review the findings, check the timelines, and eliminate false positives. This human-in-the-loop approach means your team only ever sees verified, highly actionable intelligence.
Moving to Section 5, integrating the risk framework.
Of course, pulling all this real-time intelligence is only half the battle. You actually have to use it. By feeding this real-time data directly into a structured scoring rubric, you guarantee your supplier evaluations are backed by objective, documented facts. In the past, categories like supplier compliance were super subjective, maybe relying on a buyer's gut feeling or an outdated yearly report. Not anymore.
Now, if a vendor has an active cyber breach, that evidence maps straight into the scorecard, forcing an objective, real-world risk rating. And this balanced representation ensures everything is continuously tracked. You can see how the weights are typically distributed here, like 10% for financial stability or 5% for geopolitical exposure. Real-time open-source intelligence feeds directly into these exact buckets. Find out a supplier's equipment is being used in a sanctioned region, boom, that instantly triggers a hit on that 5% geopolitical metric. Find out about an undisclosed facility fire, that hits the manufacturing footprint score immediately.
And time is literally everything here. When real-time intelligence pushes a supplier score into the high-risk zone, say a 4 or a 5, it triggers immediate escalation. You don't just passively monitor a 5. It mandates action right away. That might mean implementing safety buffers, driving a design change to remove a single-source dependency, or immediately pulling the trigger on a dual-sourcing strategy before a disruption actually hits.
Finally, Section 6, protecting your business continuity. At the end of the day, we aren't just hunting for data for the fun of it. We're doing this to bulletproof your operations. These success KPIs prove that implementing this framework directly protects your long-term revenue. By catching a hidden fire or a software vulnerability early on, you actively reduce your exposure. The ultimate goal? Zero disruptions due to supplier compliance failures. When your strategic sourcing is aligned with accurate, real-time risk scores, your whole operational footprint becomes incredibly resilient.
Because here's the bottom line. Real-time research isn't just some compliance checkbox exercise. It is literally about business continuity. Broad corporate tools are a fantastic place to start, sure, but for the suppliers that make or break your business, you absolutely cannot afford to wait for a periodic quarterly update to tell you your supply chain is on fire. Real-time due diligence gives you the superpower to see the sparks way before they ignite.
So, I'm going to leave you with this question to chew on. Take a look at your top 10 critical vendors today. If your only assurance of their safety is a standard report from 6 months ago, which one of them desperately needs a closer look right now? It might just be time to apply that 4-step real-time method. Stay curious, stay rigorous out there, and thanks for joining this explainer. See you next time.